Hello everyone, we're live for episode 7.
Hello, so welcome back. Well, it's good to be back, isn't it, Christian? Yeah, it's been
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while,
Yeah.
but it's been busy. And what we were just discussing now is the things that we wanted to talk about in today's episode were really off the back of some of the quite crazy news stories we've been seeing over the last few days.
Stuff happening.
So kind of things around the kind of horrible poisoning incident recently, and then the stories around Cambridge Analytica. And the reason I guess we were talking about that, Kishan, is because we were discussing kind of what people are looking to get their information, what is trustworthy, what isn't, and then kind of, and that was led on to a conversation about kind of, social media and things like that. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, and we were just saying about how people don't necessarily always believe the things that they're reading in the papers now.
Yeah, I know. There's this whole fake news scenario that Trump's created. And so, that's obviously leading on to a lot of distrust in the media. And I guess, we kind of go to the media as a source of authority, don't you? As you believe everything that a journalist says, and you hope that it's backed up with some hard evidence and facts. But these days, a lot of people are questioning it a lot more, and where those facts really come from, which I guess is a good thing. It's good to question the media, and it's good to challenge the media, because we used to, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there was this fear of challenging the media, especially like politicians, because then there's a backlash and it could go against them. Yeah. So in a positive spin, I guess that's a good thing too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of see it in two ways. I feel like what was interesting to me was how people are not believing news stories. So, places that we would go to normally, print newspapers or kind of the BBC, for example, which have to abide by certain ethics. So, they do have codes of ethics, and I know we can be quite cynical about the news media, but effectively they have to print things that they can back up with evidence and it's truth-based, because they will be held to be libelous otherwise. But we're choosing to believe the things that we see on our social media accounts more than that, which doesn't have to have any standards. And that's why we were saying about the whole farming of people's information by that whole Cambridge Analytica thing to produce news stories.
Exactly. Yeah, and so there are those issues. I guess the other side of it is that, you can still be libelous, I guess, in social media anyway, if you say certain things. There's sort of a fine line between producing an opinion that you have of something and producing something that you kind of make out as if it's real, as if it's actually fact. Because a lot of journalists will have opinion pieces that are quite valuable to know. And there's, in the defamation law and in the Defamation Act, there is a defence called honest opinion, which is difficult to succeed on, but you need to have that in there. You need to be able to portray opinions. But that the test would be for that. It has to be a statement of opinion and not a statement of fact. So I guess as long as that's
kind of a quality difference, isn't it? So when we see an opinion piece in, I don't know, a newspaper or even online, I guess people should be able to tell the difference between something that is shown to be an opinion and not, not stated to be a fact. Now, I think it'd be interesting for viewers, especially if you're a business owner. We've had an incident recently where if people say things that are untrue about you as a person or you as a business, obviously it affects your reputation. And I think that some of these, the ease with which people are able to give opinions online without necessarily having that tested, I think does open up a massive area of liability. And, online defamation and trolling, I think there have been now enough cases to give us an idea of how the courts will look at these things. I mean, there was I think that what they're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you defame someone online, the fact is you're still going to be held to those standards that anyone else is going to be held to. So I think there was a period of time where people went, look, it's very easy to give an opinion online. But if that opinion online is factually incorrect and it's defamatory, so defamatory means that it lowers a person's reputation, then it's actionable. And the thing is, I guess people need to be aware that if you say something defamatory online and then someone else repeats it, and say it's retweeted 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times, whatever it might be, actually it aggravates that defamation. So you could, I would say that it's probably more the case that if you are concerned about these things, that you should be more careful about what you say because of the potential of how it could explode.
Yeah, and the way you write it, and I think people are very trigger happy these days, aren't they, on Facebook, and they can just post anything, or even in emails, you can email anyone else, and that could be subject to the same sort of claims. And I guess for our viewers, it's good for them to know what you can get in terms of remedy if there is a successful defamation claim. There's an opportunity for them to obtain an interim injunction, so that you can force someone to remove something or do something to prevent them from publishing a piece. Usually hard to get, but we have to do it straight away. Or you get damages and some sort of compensation for reputational damage, like you were talking about earlier. So that could be a form of compensation. There is also you can also make press complaints with the Independent Press Standards Organisation. So that also is something that you could do independently.
I mean, that's if it is a regulated paper. If it's a paper that's signed up, or it's a media outlet. I mean, if it's not, then I guess both viewers and anyone interested in this would want to know that actually there are times when I've come across incidents where there's a website or something, a page that's been created, it contains untrue facts or contains things that are not true, and you can't do much because actually you can't identify the people behind it. So I think it's just being aware that there are obviously practical difficulties when it comes to online as opposed to offline type of defamations. Exactly. If someone's printed something, unless it's completely anonymous, but if it's in a newspaper, you know who you're approaching.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. So, I think the other thing it might be helpful to talk about is this whole, on the back of that, the whole delete Facebook campaign. Have you heard about this?
I haven't actually.
Haven't you?
I haven't, no.
So I was listening to I was listening to Heart radio station.
Okay. All right.
And they were saying that there's a whole kind of online campaign because of this thing where people's data has been farmed to basically send propaganda to them via this Cambridge Analytica company.
Yes.
I think this is what's happened. And so Facebook is having to answer questions about why is it that apps on their kind of Facebook platform have been allowed to farm people's data. Yeah. Which is, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of people, we're reading this on Facebook Live.
It's quite ironic.
It's very ironic. People use it. No, we haven't. But people use this for so many things now that actually, and you do it very freely, but I think there has to be some faith that whatever you're posting out there is for people that you want it to be seen by, whether it's friends or family. But you don't necessarily expect sensitive data about your political beliefs, so on and so forth, to be used for marketing.
No, definitely not.
So there's a whole big campaign online about, and I think I think Facebook bought out WhatsApp.
Yes.
And the guy who was the founder of WhatsApp has come out to say, Facebook have to be much more careful. So Mark Zuckerberg is down. He's going to be answering questions.
Interesting. Well, it's good that he's answering questions. I heard actually that the Parliamentary Select Committee have brought in for questioning. Yeah. So that would be interesting. Yeah.
So we'll see, but I think that kind of all ties into how social media and the things that we readily use, day-to-day use, using that hold so much data about us, and what that means for us and what that means for the news that we're seeing. So it's a really big conversation.
Yeah. And let us know your views. Like if you have any comments, any suggestions, any questions. We're really interested to know actually about your views on this whole Facebook and Cambridge Analytica issue. But yeah, it is a hot topic, and in the backdrop of the new GDPR regulations, as we know, this is a really big topic for companies to think about, because GDPR is affecting everyone, and I guess for good reasons, for reasons like this, because the whole point of the GDPR is to keep up with technology such as Facebook, and to make sure that your personal data is protected in the best possible way, and it gives enhanced mechanisms for the ICO to fine you, up to 4% of global turnover, which could be a big hit for Facebook, for example, if they are in breach of this.
I mean, I think it might be helpful for viewers to know specifics. So, if you are a company looking and thinking about the impending 25th of May deadline, then it would be wise to kind of make yourselves familiar with what the GDPR requires you to do, which is effectively keep, as Kishan was saying, people's information private, to keep it secure, to keep it confidential, to ensure that you've got processes in place and operational kind of...
Absolutely. And the key thing with this is actually only using the data when you've got specific express consent to do so. And this is the whole issue, isn't it, with this whole thing? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is to make sure that you only use it for the purposes that you're required to use it for, and that's necessary for you to hold the data for. So if you don't need it, you need to delete it. Those kind of things, which seems really obvious, but a lot of people do hold data for a very long time.
Well, I mean, I think, I was seeing somewhere, I doing a piece of work, and I saw that you'd made a list of kind of the places where one of our clients was holding all their data, including plastic wallet, Excel spreadsheets.
That's right.
And that's all of us. All of us are kind of, every single business owner is holding data in so many different places, in so many different formats. And it's just really about kind of being aware of that. And even we were having a conversation, weren't we, about email marketing. So, we've got until the 25th of May to convince people to, remain on our email marketing, to make sure that they feel like this is of value to them. But after that, and a lot of businesses are going to be hit by this, you're not going to be able to keep those people's data or market to those people. So, all those businesses that have built up thousands of names in their database that they're just holding as a value, as an asset to their company, that's going to be something that you're not going to be able to do.
Definitely. And you've got big companies, I've got notices from some clothes companies that I've signed up to and subscribed to automatically without my consent, without my knowledge. They've got my email.
Well, you probably had that whole...
I may have, probably did.
A little box that said...
I was already ticked for me.
Already ticked for you,
and now, you have to physically tick in and opt in for receiving those emails, which I think is a good thing in a bad... difficult for businesses, but good for individuals. That's,
well, it's all about protecting privacy. People's privacy, isn't it? Online identities, and I guess it's the law becoming much more relevant to the way that we live.
It's very true.
And actually, none of us really wants spam. None of us really wants to get that. Just I mean, I know I wake up every morning and I probably have about 10 or 15 just unnecessary kind of newsletters or something.
And you have to sift through it, and it's just a waste of time.
Delete it, unsubscribe, so on and so forth. So that's the first thing for people to be aware of. And second thing, I guess, is you mentioned the fines, but I think we were talking about this, that I personally feel that it's not the fines that are the problem. It's going to be customers coming back and saying, you've done this incorrectly. In fact, we sent out a mail shot, and I'll be completely honest here, and I thought it was fine and good, had it checked. Someone came back and said, I'm not sure if this is completely compliant, so I had to go back and recheck it. So that's not coming from any regulator, that's coming from someone receiving
that actually
something
knows about it.
And saying, what. So I think the enforcement thing, I think, is much more I think businesses just need to be aware that if they don't take these steps, and if someone comes back and says, can I have all my data, what are you going to do?
Definitely, I do agree with that. I think that especially leading up to the GDPR deadline of 25th of May, I think the public are going to be more aware of it. I think they're going to have more knowledge about this. what their rights are about it. I think it's going to be publicised well in the media. And, you know, what could happen, and we don't know, but it could be, we hope it won't be like a PPI type scenario. Where, you know, it's a very straightforward claim for people to bring. And, you know, it can lead up to kind of payouts. So it's important to kind of protect your business as much as possible and do what you reasonably can before 25th of May. And, you know, we can obviously help with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just generally what I say to people is have a mind map of where all your information is. Then, you know, we would then draft the policies if they need to be drafted. Get terms and conditions up to date.
We do the full GDPR audit, and, you know, I've done a few for clients already, and it's interesting. Like when you spend, I spent yesterday with a client for about 3 or 4 hours, and they end up finding stuff about their own business, about where they keep data they didn't actually know about, and they only discover it through questioning. And so it's interesting to see how your business operates and some things you may not even know about your business, and how it could be a risk factor not only during GDPR but actually during now under the Data Protection Act. So a lot of people are breaching it already. So
no, I think it's a lot, and I think it feels very timely that it's coming at the same time, because I think some of the things that we're seeing kind of in the wider news cycle is obviously directly related to abuse of people's data. So so if any questions on data protection, privacy, let us know. Happy to discuss that. And so what do you think is going to happen in the next few months? Do you think there's going to be do you think there's going to be kind of prosecutions, or do you think it's just going to be much more of a wait and see?
So from what I've heard, and the sort of the ICO guidance on this, and sort of the notes on it, they said they're not really they're going to really take it seriously. That's what they say. They say that they are going to start. They can do audits whenever they want. They can do checks, and they can start imposing penalties. I think it's quite serious in terms of criminal sanctions, and that's quite serious stuff. I think the judges will probably see it as, he's just come in and there's probably a reasonable defence to say that they'll give you a second chance or another opportunity to comply, because what they used to do before is they used to give you a time period in which to comply by. And they'll also give you guidance on what you need to do to comply. And then if you do it within that time, then you're okay. So it's like giving a notice.
Well, I think that makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense. I think as you were saying, there are corporations like Facebook, which I guess is going to have a kind of mountain to climb when it comes to, and we have to say it applies to European citizens. Doesn't it? So you could be a European citizen living in America, and it would apply to you. And if you're an American living in Europe, it may not apply to you. So
some member states have adopted it, some haven't. But I think the majority have. And an interesting thing is the way that the GDPR legislation is drafted, very similar to how EU legislation is drafted, is really wide and open to a lot of interpretation, and deliberately, because the member states can then interpret it differently within their home countries. So obviously the ICO have been tasked with doing the most of the interpretation in this situation.
Well,
so
makes sense.
Makes sense, And so they're giving quite good guidance notes on it, which we're reviewing from time to time.
Well, I think if anyone is looking for information about GDPR, do go to the ICO website. I think it's excellent. I mean, it's got a lot of information.
It is really good.
And we've done a few blog posts on it, haven't we? We've done some presentations. So feel free to contact us about it. So I think, if people have any questions, if you've got anything that you want to discuss about defamation or kind of social media, online trolling, anything like that, or use of data and privacy policies and privacy generally, feel free to we'll be happy to help. Happy to help. Feel free to contact us.
We haven't got any questions today. We've been
waiting.
For
Hi,
questions.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan. Do give us some questions if you can. If not, you can give them later.
You can always message us.
You can message us.
We've got a Facebook page.
We'll respond back to you.
We will respond. I think ours says 66% response rate. I don't know why.
Oh, really? That's
but maybe we should kind of raise it to 100%. But
we'll raise it to 100%.
Yeah, we'll raise it to 100%.
So give me questions, we'll answer it straight away.
I was waving to Jonathan there.
Yeah, hello.
So, feel free to, as we said, ask us any questions, contact us. I think the next month and a half is going to be busy dealing with GDPR. We're busy anyway, aren't we, with various other things. So, as we were saying at the last Facebook Live event, we're probably going to try and change the format of these as well. Because although we like, talking to each other, it might be good to talk to other people too. Yeah,
good to talk to hopefully some people that you work with, and it'd be nice to get them on board and they have different perspectives and views and things. Yeah. It'd be good to.
And if anyone has any suggestions of what we can do for our next one, which will be in, what month are we in? April, May, June. Yeah. Please let us know. Yeah. And we'll look forward to hearing from all of you.
Enjoy.
And enjoy.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
And enjoy Jonathan from the pub in
Brighton.
Brighton.
Enjoy the pub in Brighton.
I don't know how you managed watching this in the pub, but
all right.
it's cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.